welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, hello, my name is Sydney. In the past I've done beauty, lifestyle, fashion content, but for the majority of the last few months I've been focusing on my pregnancy. So as you can see from the title, today's video is my birth story and how nothing went according to plan. This is my first pregnancy. I am a first-time mom and today is June 2nd. Yesterday was her due date, but little miss decided to come into the world on May 12th. So we've now had her for officially 3 weeks. I honestly can't believe it's already been 3 weeks. It doesn't feel like it's been 3 weeks. So I did have some hospital content filmed, so I will kind of be going back in time and sitting down with you now to fill in any gaps. So in order to begin, we actually have to kick it back to April when I was about 34 and a half weeks pregnant. So earlier that week I'd gone to my midwife appointment as per usual every couple of weeks, and unfortunately my fundal measurement was smaller or unchanged from 2 weeks prior. At my peak, if you will, I only gained about 18 pounds. And even then I gained and then lost a little bit. So I was concerned that I wasn't doing enough, that because the measurement wasn't growing that maybe I wasn't eating enough. After the appointment, she's like, we need to go do a growth scan and figure out if there's anything we should be aware of. So she got me an emergency appointment the next day, and it was at a diagnostic imaging clinic versus the hospital where I did all my other scans because the hospital was short-staffed. So I went in and the techs never really tell you much, and they're not supposed to because they can't diagnose things. Maybe it's a little bit different with hospitals and in certain circumstances, but this tech was like, oh, everything looks fantastic. And I was like, awesome, yay, that's what I want to hear. It was, in fact, not as awesome as I thought. So the next day, so it had now been the Friday, I was at work, we had a PA day, which was probably for the better. And my midwife calls and is like, hey, we have some concerns. So baby was measuring small and her head measurement was measuring small. Now as a first time mom, that doesn't mean jack to me. What are the repercussions of this? So to me, it was just it just seemed like a bunch of red flags, and I was getting very, very overwhelmed by all of it because what was the impact? What was gonna happen? What do these things even mean? So like I said, she was measuring small and her head was small. But it was also pointed out that her head was sitting very low because she was already head down, and that maybe she was just hiding and they couldn't get a good read on it. So because I'm just outside of the GTA, Mount Sinai has a maternal fetal medicine unit that I guess has higher tech and things like that. So my midwife asked my permission to send my information to them to see if there's any cause for concern, if I had to go for additional scans with them, if I was going to become higher risk because of it, so on and so forth. So she's like, if they don't get back to me right away, there's probably no reason for concern. If they have any main concerns, they'll probably reach out directly to you. So I was kind of on high alert. Never got a phone call. And then the next week, I believe it was, my midwife clinic called and was just like, hey, they're not concerned. Your numbers are not surpassed their parameters for concern, if that makes any sense. So I can continue with midwifery care, continue my life. Then my 36-week checkup, which again is about 36 and a half weeks because my new week was always on a Saturday. Fundal measurement hasn't changed again. So now it's been about a month of no growth. And again, I had lost a little bit of weight at that point, marginally, maybe a pound and a half. But because I wasn't really gaining, to me that seemed like a much larger number than it actually was. So again, she's like, growth scan just to be sure. And I said, no worries. So this time I was able to go to the hospital. So I had the appointment on Friday afternoon. Now, I jinxed myself on Friday afternoon at work because my students were like, Miss, is it this week or next week that's your last day? And I said, it's next week. Don't rush me. We have a whole week still. No worries. And I said to some of my coworkers, because I had plans with my husband to go visit my best friend. She was getting a puppy. We were going down to the city to visit my mother-in-law. We had plans. And so I said, hey guys, knock on wood, nothing happens, because I'm obviously full term. I'm early term, but I was 37 weeks. So I was like, so let's hope that nothing happens this weekend. Why did I say that? Obviously we did not knock on real wood because everything from that moment went downhill. So I went for my scan at 3:30, was out by like 4-ish. By 6:30, 7 o'clock, I got a call from my midwife saying, pack your bags. And I was like, pack them as in hospital bag packing, or just like come down and see us kind of thing. It was a pack all your stuff. So I had actually packed our hospital bag the night before, or like a rolling suitcase. And it wasn't perfect, but it was like, okay, diapers for her, some clothes like newborn, some 0 to 3 months. Cause I was like, I don't know. She's preemie, by the way, preemie size. So these outfits were not going to do, which we'd find out later on. So sent Scott to put the car seat in my car. I was a little bit frantic because we didn't get a lot of information because she was about to go into, my midwife was going into a C-section with the OB that was on duty. But she's like, yeah, the OB wants you to come in and we'll kind of take her from there. She's like, we're going to do the C-section and then I'll call you back. But she's like, in the meantime, get your stuff kind of organized and mentally prepare for it. Now the local hospital, the one I was supposed to deliver at, was only a level 1 NICU. And that's why they couldn't take me. They weren't equipped. So they have the C-section. We're frantically scrambling to get things organized. We get another phone call and she's like, hey, we need you to come in as soon as you're able to. Like, she's like, get everything else packed, but like come to us ASAP and we'll get things started. Got everything that we could think about, like remembered pillows, obviously got the car seat, clothing for him and myself, oral hygiene stuff, like an overnight bag. I brought like hair, like shampoo and conditioner samplers because I was like, well, I'm like, maybe I'll be able to shower there or whatever the case may be. So I'm gonna cut to some footage from the hospital.
All right, hello everyone. This is not how I expected our Friday to go. There's Scotty. I am technically 36 and 6 today, but it looks like I might be going to deliver. All right, just finished the non-stress test and everything looks good, good movement, good heart rate. So they're just putting me through the system to see which hospital is going to take us. We think that we're going to go actually into Mississauga, which was kind of our local hospital when we lived there. And so, yeah, the drive I'm not happy with, but the RVH in Barrie couldn't take us until tomorrow, and the OB here wants me to start tonight. But yeah, baby is coming. All right, update. It is 11:40-ish. Scott's just left because we've got confirmation about which hospital I'm going to. We're going to Newmarket, which is actually the hospital that my midwives have privileges at. So although they might not be heavily involved, she can at least still come, which is good, because she's just going to call me tomorrow morning if we were in Mississauga. I have to wait for an ambulance transfer, so I'm just chilling. I just sent Scotty with the car. So now I'm just going to wait quietly, try not to fall asleep. Also, might try to fall asleep, I don't know, I'm a little bit sleepy. And wait for baby to decide to make her presence. All right. We are here. Scott just arrived. He's been here, but he just came up, and I got part of my gown on. I still have my leggings on because I'm chilly, and I'm hoping I can get some sleep because they can't do any ultrasounds tonight because they don't have a tech. So I guess we're just sleeping here. It is now like 1:20, 1:30, 1:40. It's now 1:40. I'm tired. I'm getting a headache because I'm tired. And I'm gonna meet my nurses and doctor.
All right, so now we are transported to Newmarket. It is Saturday. We are getting the induction process started. We are starting with the Foley bulb, the mechanical tension, I think is what they called it, before going to the oral dose of whatever the medication was. I remember it starting with an M, but I couldn't tell you what it was called. For that process, Saturday was basically just like a walk around the hospital, be bored, try to figure out what's going on, try to get things moving and grooving. So Scott was not fed by the hospital, and I would joke that I was barely fed by the hospital because the food was not up to par, and they're having scheduled rolling electrical power outages through the hospital, so Subway was closed and Tim's had a very limited menu, so I could have tea but like not much else. But it was just a waiting game, and like we brought stuff to entertain ourselves, but it's like It was weird. It's one of those moments where you're not entertained by things. Like, it's not that you're bored. I was unsettled. Like, I just couldn't settle myself to want to do those things. So I was watching some YouTube and just kind of like trying to relax. And again, trying to get myself into the mindset of, let's get this baby out. So the doctor we had, the OB that was on duty on the Saturday, was hilarious. Loved him. Would have loved to actually deliver with him, but unfortunately that was not in the cards. But he was a great guy. But yeah, so basically I just spent the day walking around, just kind of tried to enjoy ourselves as much as we could.
Hey guys, it's 8:05. We just kind of woke up over the last 20 minutes or so. Sorry, Scott's doing a little dance outside of the frame. Yeah, we had a decent-ish enough few hours of sleep. We slept for 4 or 5 hours. My neck's a little bit stiff, but I just got up. I think our nurses and everything's changed over, but no one's coming yet, so I've kind of like propped the door to let them know that we were awake. But yeah, definitely still sleepy, but not enough to actually like go to sleep. But we brought lots of tech, and I don't know if you can hear it, I brought my Theragun, and I'm so grateful because like I have such a kink in my neck, and you can probably hear Scott, so he's cheekily grabbed it out of the tech bag before me. So yeah, I'm gonna fix my neck a little bit and then maybe have some breakfast. I have no idea, but I'm getting hungry. All right, non-stress test number 3 or 4. Did the ultrasounds, and we've got all of our tech set up. I'm so happy to have my AirPods back. I don't know if I mentioned it here. I think I mentioned it on my Instagram stories. I had misplaced my AirPods for about 8 months, and I found them yesterday, and I'm so excited for that. But we are
doing a toy to play with.
Hooked up. Scotty is making me a baby app to play with. So I will be fiddling with that and watching some YouTube. When the non-stress test is done, the doctor's going to come in and do a cervix check, which we have not done yet. So that's our current update. All right, hey everyone, little update. It is 20 to 1. My lunch was delivered just a few minutes ago. Scotty's actually running out to get Wendy's. He hasn't really eaten, so he was planning to go to the local pub like 2 minutes down the street that we used to go to with family. And unfortunately, they are not taking any like delivery or pickup orders. So he's gonna go to Wendy's, and then my lunch came, and I'm like, I definitely want some Wendy's too. So I'm gonna get some chicken tendies. I've got my Foley bulb in for mechanical pressure, tension, whatever words they want to use, and starting to feel a little bit. Had a few moments of overwhelm during that, but reached out to one of my VPs to be like, hey, guess what? I have to start mat leave. And she was just like, please just focus on you and baby. Because I joked about how I'd send Scott home to get my marking, and she was like, yeah, that's a no from me. So yeah, kind of got over the work guilt, because I don't know, like I just wasn't ready. Like you're supposed to have 3 more weeks. I was supposed to get stuff to get together this weekend and do all these things, and that has not come to fruition. But it is what it is. Homegirl wants to show up, or needs to show up, so we show up. But yeah, just kind of watching some YouTube. We're keeping the lights off and the curtains closed, like not that we're like fully sleeping, but we're definitely tired. So I figured I'd just kind of relax and just gotta wait for my body to do what my body's gotta do. So take it in stride. Hello. So it is 6:10, I think. Scotty's mom and sister went to the house to help us set a couple of things up that we didn't get set up before leaving, and grab a few more things for us that we've kind of since realized, oh yeah, it'd be nice to have this. So he's gonna go meet them to collect the stuff, and we got a parking pass that lets him go in and out. So that's really good. It's like a 5-day pass or something, because it was basically like 2 full days and a little bit. So we figured better safe than sorry. It allows him to go get food. So he's gonna meet them. He's gonna grab some food for himself, and then I think he's gonna go to Booster Juice for me, because I don't really want any like heavy foods, and I don't really want any fast foods, because like, we had Wendy's for lunch, and I can't keep eating that stuff. Excuse me. But I figured Booster Juice could at least like sit on the side, and I could chip away at it, if you will. But yeah, just chilling. So Scotty's gonna be gone for a little while, and I had a little nap, and now I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I'll go for a little walk again by myself before I climb back into bed. and see what happens. But yeah, that's kind of our update. So we've now been here at the hospital for about 17 hours, I think it's something like that. Haven't made much progress with the Foley bulb. So I don't know if and when we're going to move to the medicated induction route. They do want to keep the stress off of baby because she's so little. Little babies don't tend to handle stress very well. So we're obviously hoping for a vaginal birth. Granted that she can tolerate it. So we don't want to stress her out too much before she has the opportunity for me to go into like proper labor. So I think we're about halfway through the potential 12-hour wait of this doing something. But yeah, that's where we're at. So I highly doubt she'll be coming tonight. So yeah, maybe a May 12th baby. Who knows? A little Mother's Day baby. We'll see.
And it was overnight that night that we got the oral medication going. I want to say 7 rounds. So what I had to do is a non-stress test for 20 minutes, take the dose, do another 20-minute non-stress test. And I did this literally every 2 hours. They would come in, they would check it, they would do it, they'd take the next dose, we'd move on. So that was like the soft launch of contractions. Wasn't doing very much for me. Wasn't really dilating. Foley bulb eventually got me there, but the Foley 4 is not a real like 4 centimeters dilated. So I think I ended up being only 2 or 3 the last time I was actually checked. So they got that out. And then it wasn't until the next day that they actually broke my water. So like I said, it was just before the 7th dose. They opted to upgrade me to the next level of induction, which was the oxytocin, which by default was Pitocin. So the doctor that I had on Sunday, the one who actually helped deliver my daughter, was the most like calming presence, which was fantastic because I am a very kind of like anxious person, medically anxious. So with the oxytocin or the Pitocin ramping up, I started having contractions and they were not pleasant. And I was gonna try alternative pain management without just jumping down to an epidural. But the nurse said to me, first of all, she's like, don't be a hero. My best friend said, don't be a hero, take the drugs, take the epidural. As for my mother-in-law. But the nurse said, she's like, there's nothing wrong with taking it. She's like, you can take it up to being like 10 centimeters dilated. She's like, but don't wait until you absolutely need it to take it. Only because the anesthesiologist or the anesthetician, whatever there's another word for them. But she's like, she might not be able to get here. Might take her some time or whatever. So she's like, just keep that in mind. And I said, okay, I'll keep that in mind. Now, it would have been either 20 past 12. Yeah, I think it's probably 20 past 12. Because I remember the time only because I was like, all right, I'm gonna need this. Like, I had a couple of contractions. I did not like them. They were not pleasant. Not that obviously they're supposed to be pleasant, but I'm a bit of a wuss, apparently. And it's funny because I joked saying I didn't want to be a wuss. I wanted to like hold out a little bit longer. And Scott was like, but why? For what? He's like, you're not getting an award for being in pain. And she was right. So I said, okay, let's get the epidural. At that point, it took almost 40 minutes before I actually got the epidural. So that would have brought us to about 1 o'clock because she was born at 2:04, so it had to have been about 1. So I did not enjoy the epidural process. It never hurt, per se. It was wildly uncomfortable. I would say maybe a little, I don't know. I honestly, I can't even remember it. I remember being in the moment and not being happy about it. And like being like hunched over and like in the position that you need to be in. And like I get a little squirmy thinking about it. Not a fan. But yeah, very, very uncomfortable. I don't want to say painful because I truly don't remember if it was painful. So to me that means that it couldn't have been. So I had the epidural. And I think while we kind of waited for that to do its thing, that's when I think Scott went to go get some food. Because at this point he was starving because he hadn't left yet for anything that day. And so sent him on his way and said, go get some food. Don't worry, I don't know if my lunch had shown up yet or if he's getting me anything. I couldn't recall. But the funny part of this little situation was Scott was charging my phone for me. Now we were in a very large birthing room and he had it plugged in somewhere behind the column, somewhere in the corner of the room, way out of my reach. And at that point with an epidural, I couldn't get up. So the doctor comes in, and in his very calming presence explains to me that we have to do a C-section. The C-section was not in my birth plan, if you will. Birth plan I never got to write, by the way. I didn't want it. It was not an elective thing for me. I did not want it. But at that point, I was like, I need what's best for my baby. So the doctor explained to me, because she's small, birthing naturally, birthing vaginally, was going to put a lot of stress on her. And he said small babies don't like that. They don't like the contractions, they don't like the pushing, they don't like any of it. So they noticed during some of these other stronger contractions that the baby was not faring very well. So he said, we need to pivot, we need to go to a C-section. And I swear Scott had been gone no longer than 5 or 10 minutes at this point. And I said, I just sent my husband to go get some food. Like, do I have time? Like, I was panicked that they weren't gonna let me wait for him and that I was gonna go in by myself. And he's like, no. He's like, we'll wait for him, not a problem. Thank God. So I said, I don't know where my phone is. I have to call him because I wasn't wearing my Fitbit because I had my IV in this forearm and I had all my braces on this arm. So I had my Fitbit off. Not that I can call from my Fitbit, it's too old for it, but like I couldn't acknowledge anything. So thankfully, with being a Google, and again, you can use an iPhone too, but I basically just yelled to my phone. I'm like, call Scott. So he answered and I said to him, I was like, I can't hear you, because I couldn't put it on speaker without touching it. I said, I can't hear you. They're doing a C-section. You need to come back now. So he said he was like 2 or 3 blocks away, which was fantastic. So he could pivot and come back real quick. Then another doctor came in the room who I guess was gonna be part of the delivery and was like, okay, like, are we ready to go? And the OB that I was working with, or under his care, whatever you want to say, was just like, no, like, we have to wait for her husband. And I swear Scott was there like this. I was like, thank God he's here. So because I'd had an epidural already, I think it impacted what they were able to give me, or like they couldn't knock me out. I don't know. I don't know what the regular protocol would have been, but I know that I think because I kind of just had the epidural, there was too much going on, not enough going on, who knows. So they got Scott scrubbed up. They got me into the OR. And at this point, I'm panicking a little bit because it wasn't according to plan. But I'm like, hey, I seen a healthy baby. Like, this is my focus, is just make sure that she's healthy. And I said to the doctor, I was like, hey, this is your job. You know what you're doing. I trust that you know what you're doing. I'm not going to kick up a fuss. I'm not going to force myself to have a vaginal birth if it's going to traumatize my child. Like, why would I do that? So we get in, and the nurse that I had, her name was Angela. She was hilarious. Loved her. Like, she was very, very great and very, very, like, spunky, which helped to kind of relax me a little bit. But all the nurses there were fantastic in the room, and I had another doctor or anesthesiologist or whatnot come and do whatever else they needed to get done. Now, this was the weird part. This is the part that I never really going to know what happened, but whatever they pumped through me, I was under the impression it would kind of be, you know, waist down, because I think that's how it was for my brain for the epidural. I swear I was numb from the tongue down. So I had my arms out, they had the arm like rests, and I literally felt like I was in like a crucified position. Scott was on my right hand and like was just like holding my hand and like rubbing it just so that I'd still feel that he was there. But at one point I said something to him, and in my head I was like, Sydney, that was not English. Like, I could not get the words out. My tongue felt so heavy, and I was just like, I just felt so heavy. And it was funny because it sounded like mumbo jumbo to me, where I was like, and I was like in my head I was like, try again. So I don't even know what I was trying to say. There was one part where I actually thought that I stopped breathing, because I had to like tell myself like, breathe, remember to breathe. And I must obviously have been breathing because they would have known that I wasn't. But it was a very strange sensation. But again, the doctor was fantastic through it. Was like, hey, you're gonna feel pressure, you're gonna feel touch, but like not much else. And he like pressed around my body so I knew what he was talking about. And they went to town. and it was what it was. It felt very quick. I think somewhere they said it takes about 40 minutes. It did not feel like that. It felt like it was done in like 10. Baby came out. Actually, one of the nurses, before they started, asked if he wanted photos. So she took Scott's phone and had it for when they were getting her out and stuff like that. Nothing of like me, but just the baby and like her weight and things like that. So she was rushed to the NICU, which is literally just off the OR. They came and we got to give her a little kiss first. And I really wanted to do skin to skin, but given that she was so small, they needed to get her into the NICU, which I totally respected and understood. And they said, does dad want to stay in the OR or do you want to go to the baby? Man had no choice. I was like, go to that child now. And like his first interaction, my daughter loves to have her hands on her face and like in her eyes and all over the place. And he literally had to like lift her hands out of her face and be like, stop scratching yourself. Like, just get your hands out your face. That was basically his first interaction with her. So they got me all sewed up and stitched up and glued back together, put back together. I got put into the recovery room, and then Scott came back to come see me. They gave me some more drugs and things, and then shortly thereafter wheeled me into the NICU so that I could meet her and we could have some skin-to-skin time, meet the NICU nurse that was going to be with us for the rest of the evening or afternoon before the night shift came in. It was quite overwhelming, but she was born at 4 pounds 8 ounces. But the one recurring comment that was made from the doctors was, she's healthy, but she's tiny. And I was like, you just keep telling me that. It made me feel much better. Now, something that was never addressed to me, but the doctors, both the NICU doctor and the OB told Scott, was that my placenta stopped growing. And that is why she stopped growing. And that is why I wasn't gaining the weight and continuing. So they always say like after birth you have like a dinner plate size wound in your womb. Mine was like a side plate. So there was discussion about sending it to pathology to figure out if there was something going on, but I don't think they ever did because we never heard anything back from them. I don't know if it takes, like, it's been 3 weeks. Like, I figured I would know by now if they'd done something, so maybe they didn't, maybe they just left it. I have no idea. But basically my placenta stopped growing, and that was the root cause. So I had nothing to do with that. It wasn't my diet. It wasn't not eating enough or anything like that, which was definitely good to hear, because in those moments, like, you kind of feel like, am I doing something that's harming my child? But it wasn't me, and that's all that I needed to hear. And then, yeah, what happened the rest of that night? So we spent some time with her. We called her little greenhouse, and she was in. It wasn't an incubator because she didn't need anything. She was just hooked up to like heart rate and stuff like that, and just had her blood sugars checked because she was so small. But other than that, like, she had no jaundice. She had nothing of concern that way. And so I was put into our postpartum unit room. So Scotty had to move all her stuff from the birthing room into that while I was in the recovery before I went to the NICU, and then I was wheeled in there. I will say that the bed that I had from recovery was much better than the birthing bed and much better than the bed that we went back to when we came back to pick her up. So I think that is the bulk of it. Now, the night that I finished, so it was Mother's Day that I gave birth. If you guys follow my Instagram, I put up a reel and a poll asking who should be celebrated for Mother's Day. If you had to already birth the child, or if you could be pregnant and be celebrated, or what you kind of thought. So I had joked that because I was so close to being due that I should be celebrated. But I said if I was only a month or so pregnant, I'm like, I probably wouldn't push to be celebrated for Mother's Day. And the joke was that my in-laws and stuff were like, nah, she has to be out first. And so she made her appearance on Mother's Day, which that story is going to follow her and myself forever. So I sent Scott home that night so that he can get a good night's sleep, because my husband does not run well on lack of sleep. So I said, go home, get a good night's sleep. He also has a somewhat injured back, so trying to sleep on the pull-out couch chair, it was not doing it for him. So I had my night nurses come in and cleared me for being able to get up and walk, although I walked like a hunchback granny. And I was learning to pump. I was figuring all that out. Now, I wasn't going to be able to do the every 3 hours because I was exhausted. And so my night nurse at the NICU said like skip the 3, or skip, I think it was midnight and 3. She's like, skip those ones. And she's like, if you're able to do it at 6, do it at 6. Otherwise, don't sweat it. She's like, you need to recover. You need to be, you know, your full self to be able to continue this. So that was an interesting night because I was getting pain medications as everything else was wearing out of my body. And I was trying to pump, and I was getting like this much colostrum. Like, it was like literally the most insignificant syringe, barely even syringe worthy, which was not a very good feeling. But of course I knew mentally that it wasn't going to be, you know, geysers right off the bat. So the first 2 nights I had the same NICU nurse overnight, both nights. And she was just like, sleep, come back, we'll try again, we'll keep going. So I told them I had no issue with them using formula, because I was like, I want her, especially because she was so little, I'm like, I need her to have all the calories that she can get. So I said, even though breast milk and formula have the same number of calories, I wasn't gonna be able to breastfeed right away. I was like, this is not gonna happen. I did breastfeed her just after birth, like my NICU, when we did skin to skin and met her, like we did a little breastfeeding, but nothing substantial. So she was on formula, and then as my supply was coming in, I would supplement that into her routine. So she was being fed every 3 hours. She was in the NICU Sunday when she was born, Monday, Tuesday, and we got her out on Wednesday.
Hello. So it's been a couple days since I've vlogged anything. Today is Tuesday, May 14th. Baby girl has been in the world for, I don't know, I can't do the math, more than a day. Yesterday, there was a chance that I was going to be discharged, but there's a few things that had to check out that just weren't checking out just yet, which was a little bit frustrating for me. I was having a bit of a hard time yesterday, but in the end, I stayed overnight again. I had sent Scott home the last couple of nights. Like he went home Sunday night after she was born, like hung out with me until the evening, and then I sent him home so that he'd get a decent night's sleep, with our, like, you know, king size bed and not the pull-out chair beds they have here. Yeah, so I was hoping to go home yesterday, didn't get to, but we've been visiting her. So she's in the NICU, just because she's little, so she's healthy. She was born at 37+1, which is awesome. Like, everyone keeps saying that everything is checking out, like there's no jaundice, there's none of that, so everything's fantastic. She's just little. So she was born 4 pounds 8 ounces, and so she needs to be a little heavier before she can move to the pediatric unit and or be discharged. So we're hoping that, because I've now ticked all the boxes medically that I need to tick, that I will get to go home at some point this morning, hopefully, preferably, or at least before noon. Scott and I will have to get a few things because she's so tiny that I now need to get some preemie sized things. So we'll do a little bit of that. My mother-in-law's gonna come visit her today. So I currently have a heating pad on my front end, and I was rotating it all night, which helped. I'm loving her. Like, she's the tiniest little monkey, and I'm so smitten. Also terrifying, because obviously it's my first kid, and I just joked that I'm like, how am I going to keep this little human alive? I will, obviously, but like, the thought is kind of scary. So I've just had some of my morning pain meds, and I'm just gonna kind of wait for Scotty to head over soon. I didn't pump overnight this last night, or even like for this morning's feed. Like 2 nights ago, I had skipped her 12:30 and 3:30 feed, and then tried to pump for her 6:30 feed, but I really needed some sleep. So my NICU nurse that's dealing with her is just like, please just sleep. She's like, if you want to pump or you come in, cool, like for breastfeeding, she's like, awesome, but she's like, don't feel pressured to, because I wasn't producing a lot. I produced quite a bit. I'm putting that in air quotes because they're telling me it's quite a bit. It didn't seem like a lot, but after the operation and after pumping the first time, they were happy with what I got. While I've pumped myself since then, or tried to breastfeed since then, I don't feel like it's been much at all, but of course I know that's like in the process of things, and the fact that my body still had 3 weeks before she was like, you know, fully cooked, that I just wasn't surprised that my body's not quite there yet. So we're just taking it in stride, and sometimes that's easier for me to say and deal with than other times. But this morning, I hadn't had anything in my system since before midnight, and I had to get up and pee, and trying to get up, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm like, I need something before I can do that. So I didn't get to pump because everything's just far away, and I'm not dealing with that right now. But yeah, that's it. I didn't get to do a little tour of our first room, like of what would have been the birthing room had I given birth there. But I will show you guys my little recovery room when I have Scotty. I'm gonna have to kind of do a little pan or something, because I'm gonna definitely just sit and chill out for a little bit. Dinner, oh, wow. Breakfast won't be for a little while. And I'm gonna actually get to enjoy my tea today, and I am thrilled to bits that I will get to enjoy my tea today. So I will get Scotty to bring that, because I always bring coffee with my breakfast. But yeah, I'm gonna watch some YouTube. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna catch people up who need to be caught up, and I will see you guys later. Discharged in the afternoon, and I just wanted them to keep her one more night so I could go home and have like that one night's sleep in my bed. And what they did is they said that they were going to transfer her to the pediatrics unit and then do an overnight stay where I would come back, basically keep her alive while I'm there, and then if she gains enough weight to be discharged, we'd be discharged. So they're told, we'll call you and let you know. Okay, so we went home. Wednesday, they called and were like, hey, they're gonna have a room for you there, but you're not gonna be a patient, like I'm an outpatient, so like you need to bring some food, you need to X, Y, Z, a few things like that. So at this point, also keep in mind that we knew she was now preemie sized clothes. We tried to go to Walmart to get some preemie stuff at the Walmart just like by the hospital when I got discharged. And I was using a little scooter because I could not walk. Like I was obviously recovering from a C-section. I was 3 days post-op. That Walmart had literally one thing that was preemie, and it was like the long sleeve onesies, which didn't end up being very helpful for us, which was fine. And then we had McDonald's. I tried to eat. I was dying. Just wanted to get home. I was not happy. And then we went home, on the Wednesday, got the call of like, you're gonna need some food, you're gonna need some, clothing for yourself. We don't know how long you're gonna be here for. So Scott and I went to our local Walmart, local to us, picked up a couple more preemie things, picked up some preemie diapers, just to have at home because we only had newborn and size 1. Picked up a bunch of food, and then we ended up going to St. Lee's Bar and Grill just before getting to the hospital. Had like proper food. At this point, I was panicking a little bit because Scott had full intentions of coming home, and the bassinet that they have in the hospital is at an awkward height for my height anyways, but given that like I had very limited movement, couldn't sneeze, cough, or clear my throat without crying because it hurt, couldn't laugh, that was a really hard one. I was getting very, very anxious that I wasn't going to be able to care for her without his help. So he's like, well, I'll stay. He's like, I'll stay until the evening, but I ended up convincing him to stay, and it was an incredible help. I didn't actually change a diaper for my daughter until day 5. He did all the diaper changes. I fed, I pumped, like I did everything I was supposed to. I was delivering my milk to the NICU, so they put it in her little like personal fridge in her area. And yeah, every 3 hours my NICU nurse would bring me that so I could feed her and we could continue our process. Again, we were kind of ticking off the boxes of like, oh, okay, she had a wet nappy, or she had a poopy diaper, or, fed here, fed for this long, whatever the case may be. So we had to do this all night. And then by Thursday, we were discharged at about noon. She had gained a little bit more weight back, was not obviously yet at birth weight, which wasn't expected. But the doctor was like, hey, we want you to come back in a week. We'll do a weigh-in. Let us know about your midwife appointments and we'll figure things out. Because I had my first midwife appointment on the Saturday that we came home. And by that point, she was almost back to birth weight. So we were encouraged by that. So yeah, then we buckled her up, took her home, and was like, okay, we've got a kid now. We got to keep this little one alive. And it's been 3 weeks and she's still kicking. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I will say her temperament is pretty good. I'm not loving this night feeding business. I take the overnight shift, so basically it is time for me to go to bed. 8:06, so it's my bedtime. So I sleep from 8 until midnight. I get up, I do her first feed between 12 and 1, depending on what time she ate with her daddy.
in the evening, and then I'm up until her next feed between 3 and 4. But because she's had some reflux and spit up issues, we've been kind of keeping her upright a little bit longer. So we do a little bit more snuggling, and sometimes that means I'm up till 5:30, and then I will conk out until 9 or 10 depending, and Daddy will take over the 1 or 2 morning feeds, again depending on how long I sleep. And that's what's happening right now. And that's my birth story. Nothing going according to plan, but having my baby girl. And in fact, like I said, she's 3 weeks old already, and I'm like, how is she gonna be a month old next week? How is that possible? That is absolutely mind-blowing. But we take it one day at a time, one shift at a time, one feed at a time. But yes, thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this, good job you. I appreciate that. If you would like more content, I'm not going to become just a mommy blogger. I am hoping to find my rhythm again and go back to beauty and fashion and other lifestyle stuff. So if that's stuff that's interesting to you, please don't forget to subscribe, click like. I would really appreciate it. And again, you can find me on Instagram and things like that. And I will see you guys in my next video. See ya!